This is Radio Taiwan International.
Welcome to the news on Radio Taiwan International. I'm Tristan Hildebrand coming to you from Taipei, Taiwan. We begin with a look at today's top stories for Tuesday, January 20th. Taiwan and the United States have reached an outcome in their reciprocal tariff negotiations. Paraguayan Health Minister Maria Teresa Barran will visit Taiwan next Monday, and Taiwan's High Court sentenced Zhou Manzhi, head of a new immigrants association, to 8 years in prison under the National Security Act. But first, today's top story. Taiwan and the United States have reached an outcome in their reciprocal tariff negotiations after 9 months of talks, securing reduced tariffs and preferential treatment for Taiwan under potential future U.S. trade measures, Taiwan's cabinet said on Tuesday. Premier Zhuo Rongcai and Vice Premier Cheng Li-jun said the two sides held 6 in-person negotiating rounds and multiple virtual meetings, reaching the agreement to lower reciprocal tariffs to 15% without stacking additional duties. The rate matches that granted to major U.S. allies including the European Union, Japan, and South Korea, and represents the most favored nation MFN tariff offered to countries with a large trade surplus with the United States. Cheng said Washington also committed to granting Taiwan MFN treatment under potential tariffs imposed under Section 232, which could target semiconductors and related products. Taiwan is the first country to secure advanced preferential terms, including duty-free quotas and discounted tariffs for shipments exceeding quota limits. Cheng said Taiwan has already secured a framework guaranteeing zero tariffs within quota limits and a preferential rate of 15% outside the quota. She added that if the eventual tariff rate is set lower, Taiwan would automatically receive the lower rate, helping stabilize export competitiveness for Taiwan's semiconductor and ICT industries. As part of what officials described as a Taiwan model, Taiwanese companies have committed up to $250 billion in direct investment in the U.S., while the government will provide an additional $250 billion in credit guarantees. Cheng said the credit guarantee program, to be deployed in 5 phases, is expected to translate into $6.25 billion to $10 billion in actual coverage. The talks come as the U.S. Supreme Court is expected to rule on the legality of reciprocal tariffs imposed by President Donald Trump under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, a decision that could affect existing tariff arrangements. Premier Zhuo said any ruling unfavorable to the tariffs could have some impact, adding,
"We have already obtained appropriate protections under Section 232, which we believe are the best among countries that have a trade surplus with the United States. Therefore, we believe the impact is somewhat limited, but we will proceed with further consultations or responses after the other side's ruling is finalized."
Cheng said negotiations are in the final stage, with the two sides expected to sign an agreement in the coming weeks, including provisions on two-way investment, which would formally conclude the tariff talks. Paraguayan Health Minister Maria Teresa Barran will visit Taiwan next Monday to deepen exchanges in public health and medical services, Taiwan's foreign ministry said Tuesday. During her visit, Barran will tour several hospitals and medical centers and is scheduled to meet with officials from the Foreign Ministry, Health Ministry, and the International Cooperation and Development Fund. Department of Latin America and Caribbean Affairs Deputy Director General Liu Chao-rui said Barran has consistently voiced support for Taiwan in international health forums since taking office in 2023, including at meetings of the World Health Organization Executive Board, the World Health Assembly, and the Pan American Health Organization. Liu said,
"The health minister of our ally Paraguay, Barran, will visit Taiwan next week on January 26 to gain a first-hand understanding of our country's development in disease control technology, medical expertise, and elderly care. This will undoubtedly help deepen the medical and health exchanges and interactions between our two countries."
Taiwan's High Court sentenced Zhou Manzhi, head of a new immigrants association, to 8 years in prison under the National Security Act this Tuesday. Zhou, who was born in China and married a Taiwanese national, was charged with operating under Chinese directives and funding the development of pro-Beijing organizations operating in Taiwan. Prosecutors said Zhou had long-standing ties to Chinese patriotic groups, citing her membership in the Shanxi Patriotic Volunteer Association, her role in forming the Chinese Patriotic Party in 2015, and her establishment of the Kaohsiung New Immigrants Sisters Care Association in 2016. They also said Zhou joined China's United Front Work Department, a Chinese Communist Party agency, in 2016. According to the prosecution, Zhou traveled to China in 2017 to meet with United Front officials and seek funding to expand pro-China organizations in Taiwan. The prosecutors also found that she returned to China in 2018 to sign a declaration advocating reunification with China and recruited spouses from China in Taiwan under the name of the Kaohsiung New Immigrants Sisters Care Association. The Supreme Court had previously ordered a retrial, ruling that the initial investigation was incomplete. The Taiwan High Court Kaohsiung Branch Court delivered the retrial verdict at 9:30 a.m. this Tuesday, reversing the earlier acquittal and sentencing Zhou to 8 years in prison. The ruling may still be appealed. Transportation Deputy Minister Lin Kuo-shian stated Tuesday at the Civil Aviation Administration's CAA's anniversary celebration that Taiwan's overall domestic and international air passenger traffic reached 68.8 million passengers last year. The combined turnover of Taiwan's Free Trade Zone, FTZ, encompassing one primary air cargo park and 6 major international seaports, also exceeded 5 trillion NT dollars or 158 billion US dollars and is expected to break 6 trillion NT dollars or 189 billion US dollars this year. Civil Aviation Administration Director Ho Shuping said at the event that international passenger traffic totaled 58.33 million last year and is on track to continue rising to 62 million this year, setting a new historical high. This growth is driven by several factors, she said, including the delivery of new aircraft to Taiwanese airlines and the opening of Taoyuan International Airport's new terminal. Per Ho, Taiwan's current winter flight schedule increases 107 international destinations, operating 2,981 flights per week, an increase of 124 flights weekly compared to the previous summer schedule. This figure also surpassed the 2,957 weekly flights recorded before the pandemic in 2019, reflecting a solid recovery in international routes and a promising outlook for the aviation market. Deputy Minister Lin urged Taiwanese airlines to fully leverage the open skies agreements with Japan and the United States and to explore new opportunities following the recent signing of the Taiwan-Finland Air Services Agreement. He also encouraged carriers to expand their presence in North America to Southeast Asia and Northeast Asia transit markets. The Lunar New Year is prime time to look for a new job. Recently, job seekers have discovered that temple staff stand to make a pretty reasonable salary.
It's customary to ask the gods for help in securing a good job with high pay and a short commute. What about working for the gods themselves? Well, as it turns out, getting hired as a deacon for Xingtian Temple in Taipei could net you a monthly salary as high as 48,000 NT dollars. Apart from keeping the temple environment tidy, the duties of a deacon include giving sermons, assisting visitors with rituals and exorcising misfortunes, interpreting divination slips, and chanting scripture, all of which require specialized knowledge and training. Temple staff clarified that it takes time and experience to reach that pay rate. It's not easy to get in, either. Considering Xingtian Temple is highly trafficked, in addition to being a hotspot for foreign tourists, deacons need basic English skills. Knowing a bit of Japanese or Korean is also beneficial. Out of 1,000 applicants, only a handful are selected, and even then, they need final approval from the gods. It would seem getting a job here is not just about having good connections, but having good karma, too. Hannah Belinsky for RTI News.
Thank you for joining me for the news. I'm Tristan Hildebrand. Stay tuned for another 50 minutes of English language features brought to you by Radio Taiwan International.